Friday morning, March the 10th. It is 8 o'clock on the dot. I'm first warning meteorologist Eric Burris. This is Coffee Talk. We get together 7 days a week, chat about what's going on in the world of weather and in the quieter season, which the reality is the months are winding down. We have guests. So in just a little bit, we'll bring in our Coffee Talk drive-through guest for today. More than likely somebody that you're familiar with. But let's set the stage and just kind of get our day started, shall we? Here's a live look outside on our tower cam over in Brevard County. Looking lovely over along the Space Coast. A mainly clear sky. Very comfortable temperatures and a nice fresh breeze. Yeah, this is the stuff dreams are made of, right? We've got some changes though, okay? First off, you can very clearly see the winds have shifted around. Yesterday was like an easterly direction. Today, more of a southerly, almost southwesterly direction. That is going to mean, while it's not really playing in now, that's going to mean warmer temperatures by the afternoon. All right? All right, let's take a look outside, see what's doing. 63 degrees in Orlando, 64 degrees right now in Daytona Beach. At about 62 in the Villages, so it's a lovely start. Our first warning live Doppler radar not tracking anything whatsoever. 12-hour forecast, oh baby, I love it. Couple of clouds through the day. We do look up to the opportunity for showers this evening as a cold front arrives. Don't get overly excited. All the cold front does is kind of break this heat bubble for the weekend. And then we've got the real deal, the big mamma jamma coming in Monday. Showers and even thunder showers. And that's going to bring in jacket weather, like bona fide. Okay, so don't get too excited from this one. A couple of showers tonight. If you've got out and about plans, notice on your 12-hour forecast, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock. In that window, we'll get a little bit of rainfall. But today is going to be a much warmer day than yesterday. It's that west-southwest wind running 15 to 20 miles an hour. Average highs in the upper 70s. We'll do 84 today in Orlando, 84 degrees in the Villages, 83 in Daytona Beach, and 85 degrees in Palm Bay. So yeah, it's going to be a nice and warm day. I love that. I love that. Let's take a brief look at Futurecast and just kind of get an idea of the rainfall. Stand by. All right, let's take a look at Futurecast. This morning, we've got some clouds around. Through the day today, mix of clouds and sunshine. Notice, though, 5, 6, 7, right? We're starting to see the greens showing up. For most of us, it's not going to bother us. There's 10 o'clock. Like, unless you're a party animal kid, and there's some of those. I don't think that that's quite the Coffee Talk demographic, but there's some of those. Perhaps somebody here is like, yeah, I'm going to be out having a drink, and I'm going to be having dinner at 10 p.m. If that's the case, God bless you. That's a life that I have passed by. Especially this weekend because it's spring forward weekend, which is such a crock, but that's a whole other thing. 10 o'clock, there's your showers. Midnight, showers around. 2 o'clock, a little bit of rainfall. And then by tomorrow morning when I wake up to hang out with you on West Chinooh Sunrise, it's going to be fine. And clearing out, looking better and better. So forecast for us today looking nice and warm. We'll just pop up the 7-day forecast, take a look before we run over to the Coffee Talk drive-thru here. Showers overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, okay? And again, today we get to the mid-80s. That frontal boundary moving in just pops the heat bubble a little bit. Okay, so there you go, down to 80 for tomorrow. Then we're back into the mid-80s Sunday and Monday. Tuesday, holy cannoli, what a difference there's going to be there. Seriously, 68. What? For everybody that's like, oh, we're done with the cold. No, that's always the way that it works. The month of March always throws us a left hook. Such is life. All right. We done with that? Is our guest ready? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay. All right, y'all, listen. So it's Friday, and it's the quiet season, and we have a friend joining us. Let's say good morning to WESH 2 News alum, Jacqueline DAgostino. Jacqueline, good morning to you. First off, thank you very much for hanging out for Coffee Talk this morning.
Yes. Hello, Coffee Talk people. When Eric texted me and said, like, hey, you want to be a guest on Coffee Talk? I was like, Coffee Talk people are my people, end quote. Like, I literally said that.
It's true.
So, yes, I'm pumped to be here. Just hopping on before I go to work. Anything for my Coffee Talk fam. Also, Eric, I can't see any comments, so let me know if I got any
Oh, of course.
questions about my breakfast.
Oh, no, there's going to be
Etc.
Jack's Snacks. As a matter of fact, Jamie over on YouTube has already said Jack's Snacks, so we'll have to get to that. But first, for anybody that doesn't follow you on social media, just share with everybody. You've left WESH too. What are you doing now?
Yeah, it's been like 6 months almost, which is kind of crazy because it doesn't feel that long, but then it does at the same time. It's like, it's weird. So I'm living in South Florida and I work for CBS Sports HQ, which is essentially like all of CBS Sports' streaming things. It's just like an entity of CBS Sports.
Right.
So I've been doing anchoring, hosting of all of our shows, mainly like our 1 o'clock show. And it's kind of been any sport you can imagine, any sort of like news that comes out of there, interviews. I think the coolest interview I've got to do so far is Eli Manning. That was a pretty cool one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it can, one day it can be football, one day it can be soccer, hockey. Yesterday was MMA, like UFC, Bellator stuff. So they kind of are, the message is just for the invested sports fan. We kind of cover it all. So it's been a huge learning curve, which has been great. It's been literally so much fun. I doesn't feel like work, which is like the point, right?
Right.
I'm loving it. Still in Florida because all you guys know I'm a Florida girl through and through. I went to college here and I grew up here in Flagler County, and I don't like the cold. So when you were like, we're getting the 50s this week, I'm like, oh, dear God, prayers up.
I don't think it makes it to you, though. I don't think it makes it all the way down there.
I don't think so, but like still, that anytime I see 50s, it's like a dagger to the heart, you know?
Debbie says we all demanded you be here, Jacqueline. So there's that. Okay, so Jack's Snacks was a thing when you were with us because back in the day when I was doing the morning show, you were over my shoulder and you were always shoving food down your throat. So what have you had for breakfast? Let's just do a Jack's Snacks real quick.
Yeah, so I haven't had anything yet, which is kind of crazy. All I've had is my K-Cup coffee, but I think I'm going to have like a Cliff Bar and a bagel. So nothing crazy, no chia seed pudding, no weird overnight oats that you know, the OGs know. Yeah, I was literally, for people who are like, what are you even talking about?
Right.
Eric and I would work weather and traffic in the weather center, and I didn't realize that I was still on camera, and so I'd be eating, like shoving my face off camera. I was so hungry because when you're up at 4 in the morning, it's like the day starts, man. I'm starving, so I'd be eating like a granola bar, chia seed pudding, like
all the weird
pasta,
things.
maybe. Yeah, you never know. So today, kind of disappointing. All I have is a black coffee, but I think there's a bagel and a Cliff Bar on tap. So
all right. So you talk about the odd hours there. You're in the big leagues now, Debbie points out, which is very much the case. What were your hours when you worked at WESH, and what are your hours now?
Yeah, so when I was doing traffic, I was like 4:15ish to like noon-ish.
Yep.
Unless I was doing the noon show, then it would obviously go till 1. When I was anchoring weekends for a bit with you, Eric, it was a little bit earlier, obviously, because there's more prep work involved, and anchoring traffic is very much like as it's happening, you know? So with anchoring, I'd probably get in around like 3:30, a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Now, it just depends on the day. I'm either 8 to 4 or 10 to 6. So today I'm like 10 to 6 technically. Mm-hmm. But we're starting a little bit earlier just because it's March Madness. There's all these games happening. So we're doing all of these updates and stuff throughout the day for the conference championship. So usually 10 to 6 or 8 to 4 Monday through Friday, which has been nice to sleep in. I've did like the mornings for like 8 or 9 years. Yeah. And we do have a morning show. It starts at 9.
Oh,
so
gosh.
I fill in for that. I know. Usually you get in around like 6, which is a luxury.
Right.
But like after waking up at like 7:45, 8, I'm like, oh my God, how did I wake up in the middle of the night for like 8 years?
Yeah.
You know, like so quickly your body forgets. But so usually 10 to 6, 8 to 4 is kind of my hours for now.
Wow. Laura says those are much better hours. By the way, all of you guys and gals, share your questions and we can pass those along to her. Chris is asking, do you miss doing the weather, traffic, and news? That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say no. Only because like sports has always been what I've really wanted to do, but it's kind of, when people ask you, and I hate this question in like interviews and in life, they're like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Or like, what's your dream job? It's like, I don't know, you know what I mean? But in the back of my head, I always wanted to kind of do sports. But when you think of something and people are like, okay, traffic girl, like whatever,
Right.
So it's always been what I've always wanted to do. And I've always kind of dabbled in it, but I've never completely dove in and just did sports. Now, with that being said, I think having the background and doing news and traffic and weather and all of the foundations that teaches you is so important and helps me so much. Sometimes I barely use a prompter. It's all off the cuff, having a conversation. That's like the basis of sports, right? Especially like in that environment when it's supposed to be like a table talk and that. And if I didn't do weather and traffic for years and years and years, where there's literally no prompter and it's all a conversation based, it's not scripted, I think that's huge, and being able to build upon that. So I don't necessarily miss like the, what it is, the content. I think I was ready to move on from traffic, and I love sports. I'm from a huge sports family. I grew up around sports, and I love it, but I think it was so necessary and so helpful. And then obviously I miss my friends and my coworkers from Russia, of course, and the area. I grew up there, so I still have like Wesh on my Twitter feed, and if there's something going down in Flagler County from Claire Metz, like I'm tuning in. So I miss being super close to my family. I miss all of my friends and the team there, obviously. But yeah, I like sports better than news.
No, I understand that. So talk a little bit about the learning curve, because I've got to imagine that you and I would always razz each other because you're a UF girl, I'm a UCF girl. But like at the end of the day, now in your position, I would imagine you could probably inject a little bit of your fandom to UF, but like you're covering not only every team, but every sport. What is that like to go on such a broad platform across every level?
Yeah, totally. To be completely honest, at first, like the first month or two, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming, because it's one thing to follow a specific team, a specific conference, Orlando area teams, right? Like that's one part of it. But to go from that to like everything, it feels like a lot. But I just kind of had to learn that you don't really, there's analysts and there's experts in every sport, and that is their job. Yeah. And my job is to kind of know the storylines, obviously know the important things, and then just be able to ask the right questions. That's perfect. So now I feel like I have a good basis of it, because I've done a little bit of, I don't want to say everything, because every time I say that, it's like something else, right? It's like horse racing, or like, you know what I mean? There's like something else that comes that's thrown at you. So I'm sure I'll always be like researching something, but I just feel like being prepared obviously is the best way to go about it, and just either listening to podcasts or YouTube videos, articles, and just kind of knowing what your topics are ahead of time and being able to research it and not get too into the weeds and too into the stats. And obviously there's stats that are important to the storylines and things like that. But the best thing about sports is the us versus them and the storylines behind it and the human aspect. So being able to kind of tap into that and know the broad big picture, I think has helped and makes it feel less overwhelming, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. And it makes perfect sense. There's experts and analysts, and that's just not your job. That puts it into such great perspective.
Yeah, and just knowing, I don't have to know like LeBron James' stat line. Well, he's not playing right now, but you get the point. Like for every single game and why the Golden State Warriors are struggling on the road, but I just have to know that they are and know to ask those questions and things. And obviously you learn with time some of the nuanced things, but I think, and this goes for any sort of, industry. It's like, it feels like a lot, just kind of being able to take a step back and look at the big picture is the most important thing.
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of bigger picture, out of everybody that you work with, who's the new me? Who's the person that just beats you up constantly?
I don't know. I don't know that I have one.
Are they professional there? If so, that is a problem.
I'm trying to think. I don't really have anyone that's like a huge get off my lawn like type of dude, I've only been there for 6 months. So I don't know. Were you giving me crap like within 6 months of me working there? I can't remember.
I feel like it's pretty much once you enter my orbit, hold on tight, son.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really have there's only one Eric Burris.
Oh, Jesus. Get out of here. Get off my lawn, DAgostino. Debbie's asking, do you fill on this is why I'm not national, because I can't speak. Do you fill in on other job tasks around South Florida, like weather, traffic, or is it just sports? Is it, how does that work?
Yeah, good question. No, I've only been doing sports stuff. So I haven't done any news down here, no weather, no traffic, nothing. I've only been with CBS doing the sports gig.
Love that. Shauna says the NFL draft will be interesting to cover. What does that look like for you? How does that work?
Yeah, so I haven't obviously covered the draft with CBS just yet, but if I can, based off of what we did for the combine, I could imagine it would be similar. So
right.
For me, some people go and some people travel and go to these things. We had a whole squad that went for the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I'm the new man on the totem pole. Happy to be here. So I'm kind of holding things down in the studio right now. So I imagine for the draft, it'll be the same. So we have former GMs who are analysts, and then also we have senior draft analysts, and they put out mock drafts every week. I think the closer it gets to the draft, it's every single day almost, just how they think things are going to shake out. And
wow.
For the combine, we sent a lot of our NFL analysts and people actually to Indianapolis, and I would do segments with them and just kind of check in, talk with them. If you're a Florida person, obviously Anthony Richardson is a huge topic of conversation that I love to talk about, obviously, as a Gator grad. And it's basically just writing up the questions and asking them hey, Anthony Richardson, he killed the combine, but maybe lacks experience. What team is the right fit for him?
Yeah.
And then they kind of take it from there, and it's just one big conversation about all the guys that, they think are going to go off the board first.
Patty says, where is Jacqueline? Flagler County misses her. That's what we've been talking about. Okay, here's one that I have for you, okay? So you've got this sports gig. You're doing something that just drives you. Do you think that this has re-energized your passion in broadcasting?
Yeah, 100%, totally. It's I think when you do a job for a long time, no matter what the industry is, if you're ready to kind of maybe learn new things or whatever, it's easy to kind of get in a routine and get into a rut and just kind of feel am I learning anything else? Yeah. It feels like you are kind of going through the motions sometimes. Yep. And obviously I'm so grateful for my time in Orlando. And when people would ask me, where do you see yourself in 5 years? When I was in college, I would always say I want to go back to WESH. So it's always where I wanted to be. But I was ready for the next thing professionally. Obviously, not speaking from a family perspective.
Right.
That was A1 and friends and all that stuff, But I think when you're just going through the motions, you kind of question am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
Is this for me? In 10 years, am I still going to be doing this? And so I think getting this job has been I'm I can't believe this is my job. I was telling Eric that before we started, and it's just when you're in a space where you're trying to learn, it's just constant learning. It just puts things into a new perspective, and you see it through a different lens.
For sure.
And it's fun. It's fun to see broadcasting, but in a whole new light, right? Because sports is just a different, it's just a different vibe. It's not a lot of prompter, or if there is a script, it's more of a bullet
points, right?
Kind of thing, So it's fun to kind of take what and and bring it somewhere else and just have like, it feels like a new, brings a new life to like everything that you've known, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. All right. So quick question, then we'll get back to the viewer questions. For me, I'm just curious, the people that you work with, are they former news broadcasters primarily, or are they former athletes primarily?
So it's both. So a lot of, one of my coworkers, her name is Amanda, and she's so talented. She came from Dallas, actually. I think it was the NBC station in Dallas, like 5 years ago. I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
I'm not sure. Anyways, yeah. So she was a weekend anchor there and has a news background, and we have very similar backgrounds in that regard. She kind of always liked sports and would dabble in it, and then just sort of pivoted. So there's like that group of people, and then there are some former. Most of the analysts are either former general managers for baseball, football teams, what have you, or they're writers for CBS, or some of them are former players. A lot of the talent, though, either are from news or have come from other sports entities. We have some like ESPN people, some NESN people from the Boston area. Actually, one of my colleagues now, we went to UF together. His name is Zach, and we went through this, like the whole journalism program, and then he immediately went into local sports. And we had always had been in the same orbit and have known the same people. And like follow each other on Instagram and Twitter, and then we finally like just met 6 months ago when we both got hired. Like, how crazy is that?
That's funny.
But he was doing local sports in Charlotte, so it's just kind of like everyone has like a different background, and that's the same in news too, right? Like it depends, but yeah, it's a little bit of both. Most of the analysts are like GMs, athletes, and then most of the talent are either from a news background or have done like local sports or other networks.
That's cool. All right, so a couple of questions asking basically the same thing. Both Laura and Chris are asking about either the favorite story that you've covered or your favorite moment in this new chapter thus far.
Oh, okay. So I would say favorite. I'll do two. So I've been doing more interviews, and it's like segments versus stories, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think my favorite segment so far is probably Eli Manning, because that's just cool, right? Like it's like this guy who's this amazing quarterback that you've heard of and stuff, and to be able to like actually have an interview was really cool. I think my favorite moment, and this might sound weird, but it's just probably like my first month there, where it was like sink or swim, because I feel like I was a sponge learning so much. And like that, I feel like that feeling, like you can look at it one of two ways, right? You can be like, I feel so overwhelmed and this is like, I'm going to be eaten alive. Or you can kind of look at it like, this is a challenge and I'm going to kill it. So I feel like just having that perspective and try to tap into that mindset when I was first starting and feeling like, oh my God, I'm going to drown. Now that I look back on it, and sometimes I still feel that way. You're
sure.
Like, whatever. We've all been there. It's a refreshing feeling to feel like, wow, I have to like know my stuff and do my research, and I'm like in this whole new world. Like, I don't take that for granted.
And I think that I know I feel it. I've known you for a few years now, and I feel this new light. And I've always felt that you have this beautiful light inside of you because you're just such a fun person. But there's something in there that I'm detecting, how excited you are in this position. And it's not just me either. Jeannie, not my wife, other Jeannie, another Jeannie. Dana, there are several people that are mentioning it's refreshing to hear someone so excited about their career. Dana says, so nice to hear someone so happy and passionate about their job and career, can tell she loves it. So you've got this light, and you've always had something special, but you've got this light that you're screaming out in your smile. And so I'm so grateful to see that in you.
You guys, thank you. I just put on fake eyelashes. You're going to make my, I'm going to make them come off because I'm going to get like...
Well, it just means you're not very good at putting on fake eyelashes. That's all.
Yeah, that's also what it means. So thank you so much. That's really, really kind. And I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Right. They're also wanting me to flip it and talk about a flub in that sink or swim chapter. Tell us about something that you totally host.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
We don't have to go looking for video, obviously. Like just,
Yeah. I think most of it is like the pronunciations, right? Like that's happened to me a couple of times.
Right.
And I mean, honestly, even like this week, Jim Boeheim, was a head coach of the Syracuse basketball team for 47 years.
Yeah.
He's a legend. And in my mind, I'm like, I know this guy's name. And it's like, breaking news, Jim Boeheim has just stepped down from Syracuse. And the minute it came out of my mouth, I'm like, are you kidding me? Because it looks that way. But you're doing a million things at once and you're just kind of like, you say something and it's like not connected to your brain. So I would say the pronunciations, especially when it comes to hockey, are things that I have flubbed on for sure. Doing hockey highlights.
Yeah.
We don't really do highlights a lot in local news,
right.
Even in the local sports world.
Right.
It might be like one play and you're good. But to do an entire highlight on an entire hockey game for Carter Verhaeghe and saying that like a million times, you know what I mean? So it's probably been the pronunciations that have been the biggest moments for me.
So I know that our window's closing because you're gonna have to go to work. Tell everybody where can we find you? Where can we watch you in your new amazing role?
Yeah, sorry, I literally almost just dropped my coffee.
Don't do that.
I was like,
don't do that.
So if you go to Google and just type in CBS Sports HQ, it's a link. It's a free 24-hour streaming service. You can watch like all the time. The shows are hard. Sometimes I do the one, sometimes I do the mornings. I'm kind of like bouncing all over the place.
Right.
If you go to the CBS Sports YouTube channel, I'm on a lot of those clips, or just CBSSports.com, CBS Sports app. If you have Paramount Plus, we're streaming on there as well.
Wow. Very fun. Very fun. All right. So last question.
Okay.
UCF, Big 12. Half the fan base, like me, understands we've got an uphill battle, okay?
Certainly.
The other half of the fan base is like, we're going to take on the Big 12 like an atomic bomb. What say you, Jacqueline D?
So I wish I would have known you were going to ask me this question, because do you remember when UCF played Michigan in the Big House like 5 years ago?
I do.
That's when that whole campaign for like UCF going to the Big 12 started.
Yes.
And at the time, I just moved to Cincinnati. And I was just like within driving distance of Ann Arbor. My brother and his friends, my older brother is a very passionate UCF alumni, as was my mother. So we've had the whole national championship talk, multiple times. So I drove to like meet them and at the tailgate just to hang out with my family, because they were within driving distance. I was in Ohio. Yeah. And the whole time at this tailgate, we have this Big 12 flag that we're like taking pictures with. And I'm like, I don't care. I went to UF. Like, okay, UCF.
Right.
Like, typical SEC vibes, right? So
entitled.
So I'm like literally in this picture, like with this Big 12 flag, and I'm like, who cares? And here I am, like talking about it. It's actually a thing. So I think it's going to be an uphill battle for a little bit, but just think about UCF in general, like as a program, like Bortles, it was kind of a like woof situation anyways. And then you're ranked and you just beat the Gators, albeit it's like our B squad in the bowl game recently. But hey, whatever, you're like proving that you can hang with the big dogs. So I don't think you're going to come out the gates and be like Big 12 champs. Right. But I mean, give it a couple years and maybe,
Agreed. No matter where you are in life, no matter what job you have, when there's Gators news or UCF news, there will be smack talking texts coming from me.
100%. Well, not just you. I'm related to two more of like you, so I hear it from all sides.
Mine won't end with love you, sis.
Probably not. That's okay. Take the L's when you got to, Eric.
That's it. Listen, go to work, my dear. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Coffee Talk people. I love you guys. Eric texted me. I was like, yes, 100% sign me up. So it's nice to see like old faces, friends, and just like thanks for having me and caring. Like, who cares, right? So I appreciate that the people have questions and have been so kind. I appreciate it.
Well, you're a sweetheart. You always have been and always will. So thank you. I'll text you later. Go to work, my dear.
Bye.
Bye. Jacqueline DAgostino, everybody. Just so sweet. Such a wonderful person. Listen, out of all the people that I have worked with directly in that weather department closely. She made me pee my pants laughing on several occasions. She's so fun. And to see her smiling the way that she is, it makes me feel just so great, because she deserves to be so happy and to be used to the fullest extent of her talents. And looks like that's happening. So I love that for her. I love that. All right, real quick before we wrap this puppy up, let's just take one last look. All right, so today, warm temperatures, mid-80s. Tomorrow, down just a little bit. Then we're back up Sunday into Monday. And then, what? Yeah, that's 68 for a high. That's 47 for a low. So just be ready for it. Just be ready for it. Yeah. Okay? Thank you for hanging out for Coffee Talk today and the Coffee Talk drive-thru. I'll have to figure out who we'll get next week. I'll go digging around. I'll shoot some emails out. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Susie says her joy is contagious. It's true. Kenneth says not enough time to say hello to everyone individually. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Kimberly says, what a great little morning sunshine nugget seeing her, right? She's so great. She's so great. And you know what's so fun, too, is like when good things happen to good people. You know, that's what I'm always about. That's what I'm always about. So, all right, people. Be the sunshine in someone else's day. Thank you so much for hanging out for Coffee Talk. I'll see you at 3:30 today. Let's check in on the latest model data and see how things are looking. Things are looking for that next week chill. Ooh, Nelly. All right? All right. Be the sunshine. Bye, y'all.